It was 21st of May 2017 at 7:45 in the evening.
So fairly recently, really. I mean, it's nearly a year ago, but it must feel quite recent to you.
It still feels very recent. I think we're 9-10 months in now, but finally back home.
Obviously, it's very difficult for you to talk about this and very traumatic. If you can just talk me through what happened when you first discovered it.
It was, my husband had popped out, so I was home with the children. I just called bedtime, 15 minutes till bedtime, and I was tidying up my daughter's room, and I closed her windows. She's in the top room. And the smoke just suddenly shot through the loft. And I just screamed fire constantly and just grabbed them and ran out of the house in our pyjamas onto the street and rang 999. And obviously our neighbours took us in until the fire brigade came. So I think it was the fact that it was at bedtime.
You must have been so scared being on your own with the children and being responsible.
It was, and I think looking back and talking to them, the thing that upset them most is how much I scared them.
It's a really scary situation, you know, when you're faced with fire yourself and you're responsible for the children, and you did absolutely the right thing by evacuating the home immediately.
Yeah. It was, I think it's just like talking about it now, it's just that you don't want to think about the what ifs, but obviously with it being so immediate in my daughter's room, but like, you know, we caught it so early, I didn't even have time to set the fire alarms off, the smoke alarms, and I mean, the guys were brilliant, they came so quickly and, you know, looked after our house and all of Amelia's belongings, but I think it's just that, you know, you don't think it's going to quite happen to you, and then suddenly the shock and the fact of just running in your pyjamas, no socks, into the street, and, you know, 1 minute everything's fine and the next minute everything's wrong.
And I think this, talking to you, brings it home to other people what can happen in your home and how devastating it is.
I mean, I think it was the electrics, but we had the electrics done 10 years ago, so it was just one of those unfortunate, random experiences that, you know, we couldn't have done anything about it. It was in the loft, couldn't see it, smell it, until you suddenly saw the smoke.
You obviously took fire precautions to a degree because you had smoke alarms in the house. Is there anything else that you did around fire safety in the home?
No, well, just kind of like your average person, and most people got smoke alarms. We're very careful about not leaving anything on, but even more so now, nothing is left on at bedtime. We don't leave the house with anything running because you just don't know.
Have you ever spoken to your children before about what to do in the instance of having a fire in the home?
I think they were aware that if it was going to happen, then I don't know actually. I think probably not a sit-down conversation of this is what you should do, but they certainly know now, and also I think, you know, obviously all their friends, family, everybody is, I think probably one good thing that has come of it is that our experiences helped highlight it to a lot of other people. So,
which is why you're doing the interview today, and it's
yes.
obviously very difficult to relive this, but so important that we get the message out there.
Well, because you don't think it's going to happen to you. You know, I was quite happily tidying my daughter's room. It'd just been her birthday. I was putting away her birthday presents. And then 1 minute life is just normal, and then the next minute you can't. Bonkers.
What was the extent of the damage to the home?
Well, the fire was relatively small. It was all the loft, so all your loft contents. If you know the memories, Christmas, we didn't have all my Christmas stuff went, baby stuff. But where I obviously had to get the stuff out, went through all the house into the street, so what was relatively small, the carnage that it kind of caused and disruption was 9 months of not being home.
And how did that affect the family not being in the home for that long?
I think it affected our older daughter more because it was her bedroom, her stuff. And when the building work's going on, you're not allowed in your home, even though it's my home. I want to be able to pop into my home. We had 2 weeks in a hotel. They tried to put us in separate rooms, but we wanted to be together, so my husband and I ended up sleeping on the floor some nights. And then luckily eventually got kind of temporary accommodation, but we didn't think it would be 8-9 months for something that was so small.
Having spoken to people who've gone through a similar situation to yours, they've spoken about the importance of insurance.
Yeah, I can't imagine not having insurance. As soon as you make that call, all these people kind of just emerge. You get so many different people looking after you, handing you over to the next person, and it was the first day when you kind of sitting in the garden with all your stuff just burnt. You kind of, there's a man that's going to come and tell you what you need to do, and then you do that, and then someone else, just the whole process of people looking after you. And without insurance, I couldn't imagine.
And obviously there's an ongoing effect. We're nearly a year on now, but it's quite clearly still affecting you hugely.
I think it's just kind of reliving that moment, and kind of our eldest daughter, we weren't ever allowed to say, you called it the F word, we weren't allowed to call it fire, and only now we're allowed to kind of talk about it. And I think it affected her more when we were in our temporary accommodation the first night, not knowing the oven and how it worked, cooking dinner. They were asleep and the smoke alarms went off. And she didn't run out the house, she ran to get her brother. So I think for her, because it was her room.
And how old was she at the time?
She had just turned 9, so I think she's old enough to kind of appreciate the what ifs, and kind of my reaction to the situation. Probably I maybe should have been a bit calmer, but you don't know until you're in that situation, and it is the kind of, maybe I did scare them, but it's better to scare them and get out than go out slowly.
And you did the right thing, you got out and called the fire service, which is exactly what you should do, and luckily you're all safe.
Exactly.
And you're back in your home now.
Back home, yes. It's been a long process, lots of tears, lots of paperwork, lots of... I think we kind of feel that 8 months of our life is just kind of I don't know, what happened. It was just a bit of a dream, what happened, It's, quite surreal, but we're here. Just the fire brigade, honestly, what a brilliant bunch. They looked after our stuff so well. We've been down to the fire service and to see Greenwatch with bundles of chocolates, and just to say thank you for being there and getting so quickly and just looking after our house and being brilliant. Yeah.